to Fanciest Sprue, episode 2. I'm here. My name's Glenn, and I'm here with Matt.
How's it going?
Thank you. It's very well, mate. I'm going very well. Thank you very much for coming down and sitting having a little chat with us.
That sounds good, man. I love it.
Excellent.
So, game as a badger.
Fantastic. All right. Okay. Well, without any pussyfooting around, let's dive straight into it, and let's get your hobby bona fides. Like, how did you get started in the hobby? What is the hobby to you? Is it board games? Is it miniatures? Is it painting? Is it Warhammer? And where did it start?
Oh, honestly. So I would have been 11, so I'm 31 now. And I went to the paper shop near where my granddad used to live. As you do, looking at all the magazines and all that sort of stuff. And right in the middle was a Tomb Kings sort of like image. Well, I now know it to be Tomb Kings from Warhammer. And it was a White Dwarf magazine. And it was that iconic sort of sandy background, like the Tomb Kings guy just kind of like pointing out with that. And it was amazing. And I was, with us being like a sort of 10-year, 11-year-old lad, that kind of like sparked a bit of like curiosity. What is this? And that was issue 278, 276.
White Dwarf. Cracking memory.
So 2001, it was the December issue. It was literally just been put on the shelf that day. And that kind of served as the catalyst to my nerdy journey outside of video games.
Yeah.
So up until that point, I've been playing on the PlayStation. I've been playing on like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. Jack and Daxter, like Naughty Dog games, that kind of stuff.
Lovely, yeah.
And I'd never really sort of ventured into the physical realm of nerdom, and that's where Warhammer and White Dwarf came into play. So in that magazine, there was Chaos Space Marines, there was Tyranids, and there was a little bit of Lord of the Rings as well, because Games Workshop had just acquired the IP to do the model version of Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
So with it being December and with Santa Claus, coming to town, I asked War Santi for the Demon Prince, the Chaos Demon Prince that had just come out. So it was the Metalcast Demon Prince, and it's the one that has the more exaggerated backpack,
nice,
big blade, and it's like the horns, and that was it. Like from that moment, I was kind of hooked on the Warhammer side of things. It's not until the last sort of 7 or 8 years where I've really sort of had a tiptoe into board games. So my best friend James, he is a massive board games aficionado. He literally, like, you walk into his bedroom and it's kind of like you walked into like a geek shop. Like, he's got I think last count, so at his height he had 120 board games ish, like circa 120, and he sold loads of them off to buy new ones and like trade them out. And he's currently sitting on about 52, 53.
Nice.
But
great.
All Calixes, just amazing boxes.
Out there, front and centre. Love it.
So the kind of games that we play on the board game side of things, I love Zombicide. Zombicide's like like I've got the first edition, and then is it season 1 and season 2? Yeah. So there was like 3 main box games. Then there was loads of like additional content that you get, the small boxes.
Yeah, like Fort Knox. Is it Fort something?
Something like that. There's the one that's the prison, and then there's the one that's got like the helicopter and all that sort of stuff.
That's the one,
Mall, Rue Morgue, I think it's called, and then there's the prison. So that I got that triplet of games myself. And then Betrayal on the House of the Hill. Great. I've played Twilight Imperium for a good 12 hours. Yeah. So James's birthday treat to himself as he gets like a handful of people, and we all just get some drinks in, get some picky food and all that sort of thing, and play Twilight Imperium for the day, because obviously it's like an 8 to 12 hour
outstanding game.
That's a bit of fun. So that's my board game history, but really what I love in my hobby is Warhammer and painting. Painting's my escapism. Painting's my sort of, I use it for mental health management more than anything.
Oh, beautiful.
I think it's a really good tool when used correctly to help you disengage from the stresses of the day, and you're able to just focus your paintbrush and your model, and obviously some paint as well, because otherwise you're just kind of stroking it with a paintbrush and that's just daft. So I use it for that, and I've been really serious on it for about coming up 2 years now. So much so that I started a YouTube channel last year. So I've got Relentless Matt, which
fantastic. All right,
is just chronicling my sort of journey through learning the throes of different paint schemes and or painting methodologies and that sort of thing. And I love it.
Fantastic.
Really love it. And
absolutely
the
fantastic.
community on the back of it as well.
Yeah.
So
I found that when we've done some social painting events here, the community aspect of coming and sitting down, painting with each other, or even just painting at the same time somebody else, but being on a live stream, or maybe just having a chat there going on, it's so chill. And you can be social without having to be too social as well. Like, it really helps to recharge that social battery. What I would like to touch on with you saying like paint is your main thing. So when you first started, I'm assuming it'll have been back with the Chaos Space Marines and the Demon Prince. Have you found your journey there of finding out you like painting? Has it made you a more creative person, do you think?
In regards to creativity, yes. I believe it's really sort of fueled a more creative side to me that like I've suppressed quite a lot through my normal day-to-day life and my working life, because whilst creativity is something that you can channel into business, in my younger years I didn't bother with creativity at all. I lent more into the serious nature of things, but in my social time and in my sort of general work, like walking through the world kind of sitch, I do find that I'm quite a creative person. So, it does set you up for quite an interesting view of the world. Like, when you're exposed to that level of creativity, because obviously the first thing you see when you're looking through White Dwarf is like the amazing paint jobs and the armies on parade and the way that people have applied paint to inanimate object, and you don't recognize it as such until you reflect on it later. But when you're looking at what you're looking at, it's like, wow, you can tell that there's quality there, irrespective of the skill level of the painter. Even if it's just daft, like even if somebody's just literally dunked it in Nuln Oil and hoped for the best, like it still can look quite good.
That's it.
And it does sort of bring this. It brings this whole different appreciation for art as a whole, which sounds quite pretentious when you say it in those terms, but in actual fact it's not, because like you tend to find in Warhammer as a hobby, but then also in the wider nerdy hobbies, so like your board games, your digital games, your role-playing games, like LARPing, that sort of thing, there's a massive underpinning theme of creativity. It has to be there. Yeah. So it kind of channels it and focuses it in a way that allows you to express yourself alternatively.
Perfect. I was just about to touch on expression. Yeah. So during your journey, have you found that you have a style? Is there a way that you found that like this is the way you like to express yourself in a certain type of way you're painting, or is that something that's constantly evolving as you're going?
It is constantly evolving, I would say, but there is a theme that I stick to really, because it's one of comfort, and two it's an aesthetic choice, which so I lean a lot more into the grimdark aesthetic than I do the more pop and box art. Yeah. And that's not to detract away from the quality work that is box art, because box art is there to show the model in its best light. Yeah. And ultimately, like, if you can take that and run with it, and you're able to really expand upon your own interpretation of that model, like, we could have the same thing. So say, for example, an orc or a goblin, right? Yeah. Your mind's eye goes straight to a green sort of decrepit creature, maybe red leather trousers and a big brandishing knife. That's kind of where your mind goes. Sometimes with a toadstool, that kind of idea.
Exactly, yep.
And your mind might go to this really bright and poppy and kind of like Disney place, whereas my mind would go to like a really grim, spiky teeth, kind of like glowing orange amber eyes with kind of like this really shadowy undertone, which this sort of sinister nature behind this creature who doesn't really know or recognize its being. So for me, when I look at what my personal style is, like, I do enjoy that sort of like that horror aesthetic. However, in my other mediums that I consume content in, I hate horror. I can't watch a horror movie. Like
Right.
like it messes with my mind far too much. But if I'm able to apply like a grotesque sort of aesthetic to a model, like, you know, adding like blood for the blood god, and like, you know, the uhu glue, and making all like the strands and like
saliva and gore everywhere.
like, that is a bit of me, and that's like, and I love to play with that. I love to kind of become more visceral with that. And I'm not the best. I'm not sat here like saying that I'm a professional painter. I'm absolutely not. I am a massive hobbyist. I'm a 4 out of 10 at best in a lot more than just my painting life. But we'll not talk about that. That's not what we're talking.
That's a different podcast, folks.
That's a very, very different podcast. But yeah, but as I say, like, I do it to enjoy, and because I've got a curious mind, and because I've got, you know, because I enjoy the aesthetic that I do, I also want to add tools to my tool belt. So I'm currently looking at ways in which I'm currently looking at ways in which I can expand my tool belt and be more proficient, because the more skills you have, the more you're able to intensify your true enjoyment or your true style. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my creative side, and
it's beautiful. Like, it sounds like you found a real method of adding some narrative into what you're painting, what you're doing, with bringing through that horror element with glowing eyes and grimdark stuff. Is that, would you say, sort of there's the basis, maybe the root of that is in the fact that at the time when you were gripped by the hobby, it was Chaos Space Marines. I think there was all the rage around that time, because I remember I started just a little bit before that, and it was Catachan Jungle Fighters, which was like a bit of me. Love that. I love that. Predator's one of my favorite films, has been for a very long time. So like, that was Predator. That was Predator in a box. So everything I wanted to do after that had camouflage on, which is a horrible thing to try and paint. And I think it's maybe the reason why I'm not a massive fan of painting anymore. But yeah, did you find that like the models that captured your imagination, that very first spark, like these horrible, like, sort of horror Marines that were in there?
Effectively, like, yeah. Like, so whilst Chaos Space Marines were my first army, if you look through that White Dwarf, that very first one, it follows the tropes which I followed into, like, for 2 decades of the hobby. Yeah. And yes, I've been in and out of the hobby. You know, there's always that, like, that period of time whereby you kind of drop the plastic men and start going for the not so plastic women. Yes. Or plastic women, depending upon your outlook on life.
Exactly, yeah. I think a lot of us have been through that cycle.
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed, some of us are still going anyway. But seriously, like, that magazine, that first magazine, it had Chaos Space Marines in it, and I started with Chaos, but I moved very swiftly into Tyranids because I can't remember the artist's name. But he'd created there's been 4 sculpts of the Hive Tyrant. There's the original, like, first edition one, which was a little bit more cartoony, a little bit more Rogue Trader style, big carapace head, but it was like an oval with the brain. You can see that. The second iteration, if you just imagine a Alien Queen from Alien, which is my favourite movie, even though I don't like horror, I do love Alien. The alien carapace head, that jagged sort of crown type thing. Well, he'd created a Hive Tyrant, which was kind of like a spider. So he'd adorned 2 additional scything talons for feet, or legs rather. Yeah. And then it had like 2 hands, like 2 arms at the top. And he'd green stuffed an abdomen. And it was dark purples and blacks, and that was it. So, to answer the question, like, it was that magazine that kind of inspired that whole journey when it comes to the inspiration of grimdark and dark, like, and sort of horror-esque stuff, because it's all in that one magazine. You know, I looked through it. I'm dyslexic. I don't read words. Bollocks to words. Who reads words? Yeah. Like, I just looked through and looked at all the the pictures, and was like captivated by what I saw. So that's bled into my hobby now. You know. So it's a really interesting one when you start thinking about what actually was your causality of being for now. Yes. What, like, you know. For example, yourself, you love Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl was a massive thing back in, like, sort of the early noughties, like late 90s, early noughties. It kind of came into fruition, from what I remember, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it got to a certain point, and then was just
let's table that for a little while. Never actually managed to get a game of it back then. Like my local hobby club was all 40k, but then there was a couple of times where there's people would rock up with these like bright, poppy, like funky, like some of the sculpted mutations from back in the day, the like old metal, like the Beastman model with the two hands going on, like what is going on here? What's this game? And then like we used to get really into Warhammer, and like especially if you're having a great turn, but like these lads were like whooping and hollering every 2 minutes because the dice rolls, they were shouting out illegal procedure at each other, and like it's absolutely amazing. So that captivated us, but I never actually managed to get a game of it. So when the 2016 set, I think, came out, like I jumped on that.
Nice.
And then found
That's
that
season
I didn't.
2, isn't it?
It
goes in seasons. I'm not too familiar with Blood Bowl, but like
it was the first new release Blood Bowl I had in ages. I jumped on it and I sat on it for ages because I had no one to play with.
Yeah.
That's a big part of why this popped up. So I sat on that for ages. We ended up using the miniatures from it. We got one of the teams painted for the club, and then we used the orc miniatures in our October event.
Nice.
That we did, and I just let everyone go to town and paint them, and so I've got like metallic orcs and all sorts going on.
Nice.
Like, it's lush. I love to see it, but that's I love hearing the moment that someone goes, okay, like I'm like reading books or I'm playing football, and then all of a sudden they just go, oh, there's this whole different thing that's totally different to anything else that I've tried.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole big community around it, which, like, at the minute I feel is one of the best communities out there. Absolutely. At the moment. It is so welcoming, and everyone's like sort of digging into it. It's this huge, big creative space where people are sharing stories, and like a lot of us have got very similar sort of origin stories in it, where we started off, we found this thing, like we're talking to my friends about it, but like secretly, because like, do they like it? Am I gonna be ostracized because I like playing? Because I'm building little men and I'm painting trousers on a weekend. Like, am I gonna be ostracized? So like, there's this whole big thing, and then now everyone's like out and proud.
Yeah, and that's the best way. Like, one of the things that I found. So when I came back into the hobby 2 years ago, I spent a year exclusively painting Tyranids. So it's the 3rd edition Codex cover. And it's Behemoth style, but it's the old white heads, red stripes on the eyes. And I love that, and that's it. Just because that was the first Codex I saw. So although I started with Chaos and I moved into Tyranids quite quickly, the first book that I got was that 3rd edition Codex. And as I got more and more deep into like the different microcosms of Warhammer as a hobby, because like I do love board games. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing them, but I'm not a rules guy. Like, it's not. I'm not using it as an excuse or anything like that, but when it comes to reading and interpreting rules, I'm hindered by my dyslexia. It takes me like 3 times, 4 times as long to kind of read that and comprehend that. Yeah. Like, because, well, that's just how I'm wired. Like, once I know it, it's in and that's it, done. Yeah. But it'll take me that little bit longer, so I'll need like prep time for a board game. Whereas with just painting and picking up like, you know, white dwarfs and looking at the different schemes and that sort of thing that there is, it's really like that was the thing that really captivated my imagination. So when we look at the different microcosms of Warhammer, like the community side of things that you mentioned there, that was one of the biggest drivers for me to be as involved in the communities and involved in Warhammer as I am right now. Yeah. So I came back in 2 years ago properly, started painting some Tyranids, and then I'm quite fortunate enough, I live with some people who are also into war games and, you know, board games and that sort of stuff. And we all decided we wanted to play a skirmish game, so we went down the Necromunda route. And then I was watching some YouTube content. I can't remember who it was. It may have been Wargamer James, I think. Quite possibly, I can't remember. And on his desk mat, or on his in his creative space, he had a sticker for Some City Radio. And I was like, that's a cool sticker. And you know, when you just like you think, what is Some City Radio? So I looked into it. Some City Radio is the podcast for Necromunda.
Oh, nice.
Like the podcast. It's like they are like they're the sort of the central point that everybody kind of goes into, and it just so happens they've got a community, and it just so happens that the community are so supportive of each other. So there's Gilders Ford Radio, which is another podcast setup. There's Three Ogrins in a Trench Coat who does Second Best Guides, and
nice.
class name.
Brilliant.
Simon, lovely guy. There's Necromacho over in America, so they have, they've got their own podcast as well. Then there's JD and the Sump Sea, which is all about scratch building and building your terrain up. Yeah. And Dale and I, honestly, Dale is such a great guy. Jay's great as well. And I've been fortunate to become, purely from seeing a sticker on a YouTube video, I've now become friends with all of these people who are so passionate about their microcosm of the hobby. Yeah. And it's kind of expanded my passion for it, and it's also expanded my sort of like my outlook on what you can truly do as a community, because I then subsequently went down to SumpCon, which is a Necromunda casual tournament event style thing. It's over a weekend. It's down in a place called Belper, which is it's two houses and a shop in the middle of a field near Warhammer World, basically, near Nottingham. And the people were amazing. The people came from literally everywhere. We had one guy called Matt, who's Hive Market Minis on Instagram. Yeah, and he came from America. Amazing. He flew, and that just kind of proves like how strong the community can be based on the passions that are within it. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm so like passionate about what I do. And this is, as I say, I'm not a professional painter. I'm not a massive gamer, and I'm not the best at any of these things at all. I don't have a unique thing to me in this hobby outside of the fact that I have the passion for the people, and I just enjoy it. And I get to meet lovely people like yourself, like Jambo.
Thank you very much.
Like,
okay, don't speak too fast. All right.
We'll talk about you first, okay? Yeah. So I met this lovely bloke called Glenn. I've got him a pepperoni pizza, and he said that he was vegetarian.
Keep going. Yeah.
But no, how I met Jambo, I was in a post office, and he was declaring he was sending a parcel, and I overheard him say, on his declaration, it's a custom painted model. Yeah. What kind of model is that? Is it Warhammer, Howie? And it was literally it was instant connection. And obviously, you know what Jambo's like. He's got such a beautiful personality. It really kind of he kind of bounds into a conversation so passionately, and it's that was really really nice to see, and it was a good feeling straight away. And that's how I ended up here. Amazing. So it just shows that community spirit is there in droves throughout the entirety, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's a very similar origin story to how I hooked Jambo into this. Yeah. He trained me day 2 in the job that we both do now. I was sitting in the van, he was driving, and he's 2 guys in a van. You've got to have something to talk about. He says, "Oh, what do you do then?" I says, "Well, in my spare time, with my best mate, I run a games club." And we do we were doing Wednesdays at the Punch Bowl at the time. And he was like, what kind of games? And I said, everything from Monopoly to Warhammer. And he sort of straightened a bit. And I was like, that man knows what Warhammer is. And he was like, what Warhammer, like Space Wolves? And I was like, how do you know what a Space Wolf is? And then that was it. The rest of the day, we were talking about Jambo when he was 14. And how much joy he got out of playing, how he got playing Necromunda, playing Blood Bowl, painting his Space Wolves, and then he let on that he still had everything. I was like, well, you need to bring that down to even if you're not interested in starting it up again, even if you're not interested in the hobby anymore, you need to bring that stuff down to Clubhouse so the people at Clubhouse can see that, because they'll go wild. Absolutely. To see actual models that were in the White Dwarfs when they were starting. Some of these things, he had a first edition Dreadnought in there, like the stuff he had in these boxes, and everyone, it took a little while to get him down. I think it took a little while to get him down. It took weeks of me come on. These are your people. You've said, we hooked him in painting a little bit of terrain. I said, come on down. Do you want to come to the workshop? I had a little workshop at the time. Do you want to come to the workshop? It's just me and Adam. And you can come down and just try painting something. He came down, did that, and then that was it. He was in, and it was beautiful. And that's one of the things I love this hobby for, because everyone's got something that hooks them in.
Yeah.
And once they're hooked in, they're in for life, and it's great.
It's a grand connector, isn't it?
That's absolutely,
it's
absolutely. That you're hooked in, and then there's this just wonderful shared big ball of energy and of creativity and narrative and reasons why people are here and reasons why people weren't here for a little while. And it's just, that's the whole reason I'm doing this podcast. I'm trying to find out why people are playing board games, why people are playing Warhammer. Like, why are we doing it? Especially when, there's so many different things we can do. And I find a lot of the people I'm talking to are my generation and the generation before, who are like, I don't know if you had the same thing, but like when you were in school, hard graft and not daydreaming was the letter of it. Like, make sure you get your schooling done. You want to learn a trade. You have to stop being a dreamer. Artists don't make anything. Like, having that, and then everyone having this sort of like secret Warhammer hobby on the side where they're being really artistic, but like, and then finally being able to come out and just celebrate it at the minute. Like, I absolutely love that. I love hearing those stories.
It is good. Like,
yeah,
it is good.
Do you know what else I love as well? I absolutely love hearing people have a little whinge. So we're going to move on to the next part of the conversation, which is the hobby chore. Aww. As explained last week, if you're unfamiliar with Geordie slang, something that's a pure chore is it's a pain. It's something you like. It's something you don't like, and something you want to have a little whinge about. So, Matt, Relentless Matt, what do you want to whinge about? What's your hobby pure chore?
1, 2, or 3.
Ooh, putting the power in my hand. Straight down the middle. Number 2.
Number 2, super glue. Hate it.
Super glue.
Honestly, hate it. Right? Me and super glue have a love-hate relationship. Right? It loves to piss me off. Right? And I hate to be stopped. Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I'll tell you the seed of my hatred. Beautiful. And then we'll expand upon this. It'll flourish into this beautiful, fetid, disgusting bloat of despair. Right?
Amazing. I'm here for the ride.
Seed. Most Necromunda models, the good ones, are made out of resin.
Right.
Resin and regular plastic glue don't work.
Nah, not good bedfellows.
If I used wood glue, I'd be sad. If I used PVA glue, I'd be a child. So therefore I need to use super glue. Now, super glue takes between 3 to 5 business days to dry.
Yeah.
So you're ending up with random bits of tat and crap and resin. Like this.
Yep.
For ages. Now, people have said, these magical, mystical wardens of the internet have said, use baking soda. No. That adds a texture. No.
Yeah, no.
Then they've said, make one end wet and make the other one super glue and put that together. Tried that. I've licked too much resin. I feel a bit mad. Right? I've gone...
No, God, no.
Obviously, I've got to spit it out afterwards, because, I'm a classy bird, but that's...
Absolutely.
So, super glue. It's
super
time.
glue.
Now, what I will say is the Colour Forge have literally just released a spray can, a readily available spray can, which it's an activator.
Yeah.
So literally, it'll seal off. So if you've got your want bit A and bit B, and you've got to glue it in. You've got your seat of glue there. Well, you put it in, and then you go, and it seals the outside and allows the inside to cure, and that's fine. I'm game as a badger for that. However, my 2 out of the 3 that I've given you is super glue.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I've also got a bit of a love-hate relationship with super glue, and that came from when I was, how old would I have been? I was definitely in my teenage years, and it was after I'd started Warhammer. I'd started collecting Catachans and Imperial Guard.
Nice.
And my dad, bless him, went, "Here, enjoying your little men. So, do you want some little men for Christmas?" "Yes, please, Dad." So he presented me with the Eldar Battle Box, the big one, the big £100 one, back in the day. And I remember going, oh, this is not the army that I'm collecting, but I love it. Great. Loads of models for me to build. Fantastic. And getting some super glue and trying to build the War Walker out of that, which had the 2 big, long, spindly metal legs and the big metal bit. So I never finished the Eldar Battle Box. Never finished it. I took it to school and traded it for a Sega Mega Drive because it pissed me off that fucking much.
That is a trade and a half.
That's a trade and a half.
Trade and a half.
Sega
and both
Mega Drive
have equal value nowadays as well.
Absolutely. Because I don't know what it was about super glue and the ancient metal models of our youth. I don't know what it was. It would cure your fingers, and you'd come away with like the leg stuck to your hand, and then the thing's still not there. Awful.
And then also using random table tat to prop things up.
Yes.
Like you've got like a book and
and
half a shot glass and like I don't know, your cat. Like just propping it all together.
The book she's scaffolding to try and get something to cure so you can work on something else because your hands are cramping. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Dude, what a beautiful gripe. I'm sure there'll be lots of other people out there that share it. Okay. Now let's move away from the complaints, and I want to hear you wax rhapsodical about something that you absolutely love in the hobby. So this is going to be your hobby pure score. Again, Geordie slang, pure score, something that's amazing, something you're really happy, something that is giving you joy to behold. So, let's have it. What's your hobby pure score?
This is a hard one because there's a lot that I love about it.
Yeah.
Like, I could answer with community because I love the community. It builds community, it builds connections, it builds something beautiful for everybody to behold. Like, and drawing that kind of like that passion from it's usually nostalgia. Bringing that out of people is beautiful because you can see that little glint in their eye.
Yes.
And when you hear somebody talk about it so passionately and so enamored about a specific thing, like it doesn't matter if you don't have a clue what they're talking about. Yeah. It's like when I hear people talking about like lore, like deep lore,
deep lore,
stuff like you know about a Space Hulk, which is like 16 clicks away from, and you're like, wow. I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds
fantastic. Yeah,
I love it.
And you can see that glint of the, inner child in their eyes and that sparkle in the smile. I love it.
I could say community. I could say that love, but I think what I absolutely love is how I'm gonna specify mental health. I think it serves such a beautiful purpose for so many different people, and it helps so many different people in so many different walks of life. Like I've had the opportunity to speak to so many different people in the hobby from really quite interesting backgrounds.
Yeah.
So some of military and service backgrounds, some who are really, have had a tough life.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and tell the stories of these people, but like think of the worst thing that you've had happen in your life and times it by 10, and these guys are probably not even close. They're still leagues and leagues beyond. But they use the hobby to have that mental reprieve, to have that breathing space, to allow them to allocate the stresses of the day into their representative boxes in the mind and kind of deal with them. Yeah, like it's from a psychologist's perspective. If you're passively, so if you're using your hands and you're doing something which is kind of like a passive action. So if you're sat painting a model, for example, that allows your mind the time and the space to breathe. It allows your mind the time and the space to decompress. So that's point number one, the decompression. And the second point is the processing, because deep processing happens when you're not thinking about it. If you say, for example, you crash your car, please don't crash your car. I don't want you to crash your car.
I don't want to. No, I definitely don't want to.
The emperor forbid you crash your car, right? If you're stood there, stressed a bit, your car's leaking fluid all over the place, it's on fire, and there's all sorts of chaos going around, you would never be able to fix that car mentally in that situation. Yeah. Because you don't know the full damage, you don't know whether it's going to be repairable damage, you don't know if it's a written off car. But if you're sat there or stood there and you're going, how can I fix my car right now? You're not going to fix your car. You can't do that. But what you can do is fix the situation surrounding your car, And then once you understand that, you'll be able to then figure out little bits and bobs and go, okay, well, the chassis is okay, so it's not a write-off, and it's just bumper damage, so I can deal with that. And you break it down in little chunks, and you go, okay, right, it's just a fender bender, I can sort that out.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. And that's what the hobby does in a broader spectrum. If you're having marital problems, if you're having car issues, if you're having work problems, if you're having interpersonal problems with your best friend, like, if you're just having a bad day, and you're reflecting on mistakes you've made in the past, well, having your hands busy painting a model or building a new kit or building a new army, that really, really helps kind of just bite-sized chunk away your issue. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, and I love it. Fantastic. I absolutely love it for that. So that's my hobby. Yeah,
that's your hobby love. Let's touch on that. Have you, in the last 2 years, you've been doing that and you've been using it to sort of work on matters and issues in the back of your brain. Have you found that your mental health's improved?
Massively.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely massively. So I hold no bars for it. So I lost my granddad 2 years ago. It was an awful situation. Like, it was really, really bad, and he was in hospital for a good number of weeks, and unfortunately he passed away in hospital. Thankfully my mum was with him when he did pass, but it wasn't a nice phone call to receive, because my dad, my granddad was effective. He was there for me the most. You know what I mean? It was my granddad and my mum, and they were there for me the most. And I used to live with him. Like, it was, it was just him and I, like, taking the mick out of the family and having a good bit of fun, and like, it was lovely. It was absolutely gorgeous. And like, with regards to the mental health side of things, like, it's helped me reflect on the beautiful times that I had with him. Like, we went to the Botanic Gardens down in Durham a good number of years ago. It was like just before COVID happened. And we took some mad photos, so I've got a couple of photos of, it's the same photo, the same framing of the photo, big tree, and the first one is just the big tree. Yeah. But it was his idea, and he said, oh, take a photo of us behind this tree. He hid behind the tree, and then the second photo was him poking his little head out.
Oh, brilliant, yeah.
Obviously, like, you said, oh, you can tell people I was there, but it was this, it was just like little daft things like that, like, it makes you remember, like, the amazing times. And the last time he was out, I mean, he was really quite ill, but we went to a car showroom of like really classic cars. It's called the Aston Workshop, and it's over Stanley Way. And we went over there, and I'd bumped into one of the guys in there before, and he took all the photos of the cars and all that sort of thing. And on my granddad's last day out, literally 2 days before he went in hospital and didn't come out, like, it was just him and I together, and there's a couple of lovely photos of him next to some like old, like, £1 million Rolls Royces.
Yes.
Like old, I'm talking old. And, I sit and reflect on that, and, I didn't really deal with it well when he passed. Like, I was silent, I was unemotional, I didn't have that processing power, and that was something that I've always struggled with emotion. Like, it sounds quite cold, but I've always kind of, not necessarily bottled it up, but I've always been very dead-faced about things. I'm usually the pillar that people lean on.
Gotcha.
Like, I can hear the worst stories and that sort of thing, and I'll be completely level-headed and help you work through your problem. But when it's me, I'm like,
well, how do I work through this?
Exactly. And it was literally, we had the ceremony, so got him cremated, and it was literally as when you walk out and there's that awkward handshaky thing where it's meant to be like a family coming together and a friends coming together and sort of closing off that chapter of somebody else's life together as one. And that's where I just broke, and it was a massive downward spiral from there. There was loads of other things that was compounding that situation, but now the hobby has become my reprieve from that. And I'm quite a happy person generally. I'm quite an upbeat person. I'm usually the one who's like, front of the charge, pulling everybody up and saying, come on guys, like, I know things are bad at the moment, but like, we can be better than this, we are better than this, like, together we're one. And like that, both in a working sense and also a personal sense, like, you lead from the front, or you bring your people with you, and you push them to be the happiest and the best and they can be. As I say, in a working sense and a friendship sense, You know, you've got to show that love to your friends. And the hobby allowed me to do that again because I lost it. I completely lost my ability to sort of be happy for myself, but help other people be happy as well. And that really hurt because I get my joy from seeing other people happy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's massively helped. And, you know, one of the big things that I wanted and yearned for was a place that I could go to have that interaction with more than just the 4 people that I play with at home. And that is Clubhouse, and that's why I've pretty much left the place since I found out about it, you know what I mean? I've become one of the chairs. So.
Yeah, it's wonderful having you here.
But there we go.
What a beautiful story. Thank you very much for sharing that with me, Matt. No, I really appreciate that. So, there's only one question left to ask you, Matt, and that is, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to working on? What have you got on your DIY, your painting table now? What's next for you in the hobby?
So there's a couple of different things. So what's on my table right now? There's going to be a video coming out very soon. I'm going to say very soon. It may already be out, but if it's not out already, then it'll be out soon. And that's a collaboration with a very well-known painter.
Ooh.
And he's a good friend of mine. And we're doing a challenge. So we've challenged each other to paint the same model and make a diorama. That's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Oh, brilliant.
But that's going to be the first of a series. Excuse me. After that, I've got the Ash Waste Nomads. I've got literally all of the Ash Waste Nomads to do. But I've also got some Dark Angels that need doing. So I'm going to prioritize which one. I recently did a really interesting trade which may scupper all my future plans. So I had 2 big binders of Pokemon cards. I enjoy Pokemon and I enjoy Magic the Gathering. I play Magic the Gathering a lot, but I used to collect Pokemon cards. And I traded 2 binders away to like I said, a seller who's also one of my closest friends. And they are, instead of giving me money, they're buying me a Thunderhawk.
Oh my days.
Yeah.
Oh my days. The Thunderhawk, the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail.
Now I remember seeing in the little Forge World pamphlet, like catalogue back in the day, I remember seeing that sculpt, and it's changed since then, and it's a little bit more vicious. It's got the 2 like fighter wings at the back.
Yes.
So if I get that within the next couple of weeks, which it's looking like, because the cards that I've traded, are selling quick.
Excellent.
So it looks as if I'm getting my Thunderhawk pretty quickly.
All right.
And that'll just push everything else to
everything off the table.
Yeah.
This is happening.
That's everything I'm doing in my painting side of things. For the channel, I'm starting to put a couple of different things for the YouTube channel. So I'm doing my challenge videos. So I'm going to be challenging different people in different ways. And that's one, to push myself as a creator and also a painter.
Yeah.
But also to make new friends.
Absolutely.
And to have a bit of fun. And that's going to be really, really quite good. And then on top of that, I am organising a Necromunda event called Scum on the Time, which is held at this lovely place down on the quayside. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Clubhouse.
The new one on me.
I would recommend it. The staff are lovely. The beers and drinks are reasonably priced, but the atmosphere and the people, that's top notch.
Fantastic. That's exactly what you want from Newcastle's premier gaming club.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Down on the quayside. But yeah, so I'm going to be. So I'm currently in the process of organising that, planning that out, and that's with Chris Idden from Some City Radio. So there's 2 hosts from Some City. One of them's Chris, lives around the corner from me, and we've become quite close friends. So we're organising the machinations of Scum on the Time.
Scum on the Time.
And I'll give you an inside scoop. One of the boards that's coming to Scum on the Time is going to be a Gateshead versus Newcastle and the Tyne Bridge. It's going to be a 3 foot by 3 foot gaming board, and it's going to be amazing. We've got some of our 3D printers making some bridges for me to have a look at, so I am really excited to make that.
Standing.
And that board's going to get donated to Clubhouse.
Amazing. I am bursting now to see progress on this. That is going to be something absolutely special. Very cool. Very cool indeed. Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for being so forthwith and sharing. Your deep dark start in the hobby. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. All the links to Matt's YouTube and events is going to be. We'll have them up in the usual places where you can find them. And for now, thank you very much for coming down. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I've loved it.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Pint?
Lovely. Yes, let's do that. It's warm as fucking here. Like, Jesus. Excellent. Thank you very much, mate. That's class. That was class, that, Adam, wasn't it? Thanks, Adam. Take 2. I'll tell you a funny story.
A few moments later.
That's an anecdote.
Anecdotally talking about.
Don't keep that in.